and we welcome you to the Fatal Four Way live on ONTV, along with Shawn Grugel, Brian Bolf, Hollywood Q. I'm Jason Clouse. We certainly appreciate you tuning in here this week. This is a very special edition of the show because if you follow ONTV on social media, you know this since the last time we were on the air. They had something of an upgrade in their equipment, and I'm very happy to be able to say that we're the first broadcast, we're the first show to be utilizing the new cameras here. I feel like a star, Q. How do you feel?
I feel like it's a new era.
That seems to be the general consensus in this particular part of the year. We have a lot to talk about this week. Let's start with the breaking news that came down the wires yesterday. Not a huge surprise, but it is going to be something that is going to turn the world of wrestling on its ear, and it's going to open a lot of doors of opportunity. WWE has announced a partnership with TNA Wrestling. This is a multi-year deal, and while the specifics were kind of vague, this really does further this working relationship between two big names, two powerful promotions in the business. Q, we'll start with you. We have seen these crossovers last year. Joe Hendry and Jordan Grace obviously were the ones that benefited most from that exposure, right? And while this is focused a lot on the NXT brand working with TNA, I gotta believe, man, this is step one of a bigger plan that is really going to put TNA, or try to put TNA in that number 2 spot above AEW. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. The key word that I really took out of this is the multi-year thing. I mean, this is going to be an ongoing process, and we got some exciting crossovers that I believe we're going to see, and it's going to start right there at the Royal Rumble. And I was thinking about the Hardy Boys. You got the Hardy Boys as the tag team champions in TNA, and the opportunities of bringing them back without actually having to sign them now, you know, so you don't have to sign them, but they can still kind of finish their career in WWE in a way, you know. So I think this is a great thing for, you know, the younger talent and even the older talent. You got a Dolph Ziggler there, you got so many people that need exposure, but also for NXT, that women's division, and we talked about it before, is so stacked. There's not enough TV time for all of those women. So having them be able to appear in another promotion, that's big.
Shawn, we know from being in the business, timing is everything. And kind of leaning into what Q was talking about, right now TNA's roster boasts the Hardy Boys, boasts the former Dolph Ziggler. These are main event guys that made a name for themselves in WWE. How much of their influence and their star power is going to be crucial in the success, the immediate success moving forward with this partnership? Because as Q just said, this conceivably starts at the Royal Rumble next. You know, we're a couple of weeks away from this thing in Indianapolis. How much is timing a factor in this?
I mean, I think the announcement is now to set it up for the Royal Rumble, but I think this was in the works a long time ago when Dolph Ziggler took his leave from the WWE. Hardy Boys are a different category altogether, but I think Dolph Ziggler was actually kind of sent in there as a liaison. I could be wrong. We don't know for sure, but the question that's on my mind, Jason, is now that TNA is kind of like going to be a feeder fed for the WWE, what is now going to happen to the WWE ID program?
That was going to bring me to you, Brian Bolf. We spent a considerable amount of time on the show, late last year with the announcement of this WWE ID program to develop new talent, to kind of focus on the independents. Does this open more doors of opportunity? Because instead of just focusing on NXT or Raw or SmackDown, they now have TNA as an option. Do you see this being interwoven with this whole program?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. You'd see that how they would bring in younger talent, and now they have the option once they bring them to NXT. Do we want to bring you up to the main roster right away? Do we want to have you work with TNA for a bit and get a taste of that, like almost middle ground in there? Not that I want to just talk bad about NXT like that, but it still seems like more of a step up to the big league.
This is really going to put a lot of the spotlight on NXT initially, right, Q? Because this is how the thing was positioned, especially when the announcement was made. Very heavy presence on the NXT brand. Now, when you look at what they're doing right now, they had to move, or they didn't have to, but they moved to the CW network. They have really done a pretty amazing job at trying to make it different than the way it was when it was on the USA Network. They brought The Rock in on an episode. Of all people, the biggest star in the world, you're going to bring The Rock in. And Rock, being who he is, really turned that show on its ear. So you got to maintain that kind of momentum, right? Because you're not going to get The Rock on NXT every week. So with guys like Joe Hendry, who just lit the business on fire late last year, and him benefiting from the exposure. He was in the main event of an NXT pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? Right. So is there anybody else on the TNA side right now that stands out to be like, this guy is going to be somebody that's going to really benefit from this partnership, and we're going to be seeing him under one of the WWE banners sooner rather than later?
Well, it's got to be Top Dollar. I'm joking. But what's the one who stands out to me, is definitely Jordynne Grace. That's going to be a big one, and I know WWE has their eye on that woman. She went and got her hair blonded up, so she now can fit the bill. So I believe we're going to see a lot of Jordynne Grace. We're going to see her in the Rumble, too. I almost can guarantee that she's going to be in there. So that's just a start. I mean, we're scratching the surface. You have people like Moose who said he wants to go to WWE. So there's a lot of talent that can really benefit from this.
It's going to be real interesting to see how this whole thing plays out, and with the Royal Rumble just a couple of weeks away here, it's we're going to very much see a TNA influence. I feel like, especially the announcers are starting to make more mention of a particular wrestler's time in TNA. They were a former champion there. And it's, we've heard this before and we've said it before, but this is really such a glaring influence of Paul Levesque being in charge, because if Vince McMahon was still in charge, this would not be happening right now,
Not even close.
No, and another big shift here that we're going to spend some time and focus on is Raw's move to Netflix. We have talked about it. We have previewed it late last year when the announcement came down that this was going to be a thing. I had reservations about it initially. I'm like, man, because I'm a traditionalist, I'm old school. I really wanted to keep the longest running episodic show in television history on the USA Network. But after 2 weeks of Raw being on Netflix, I get it now. It makes it convenient for us.
Absolutely.
Because we're third shifters and we can turn around and we can watch the show while we're at work on demand immediately, like right? Yep. But from a business standpoint, Brian, we'll start with you. This was probably one of the smartest moves WWE has made in quite some time, because this particular show, the flagship show, is now seen around the world in real time on a huge platform, and we were worried because of the way the streaming issues that came out of the Mike Tyson fight. Were they going to be ready to broadcast Monday Night Raw live every week? 2 weeks into this thing, and we'll kind of look at the highlights from each show here, but on the surface, was this a good move for WWE at this point?
Absolutely. I don't know what the USA Network was globally for households, but we know Netflix is around the world, literally globally to every single person. I think it was on the Impulsive podcast with Heyman where they said if Elon Musk makes trips to the moon, the first channel they're going to get on the moon bases or Mars will be Netflix.
Right.
So you'll be able to watch wrestling right there from outer space. I mean, if you want eyes on your product, there's no bigger place to be than Netflix.
The debut episode, which took place on January 6th, garnered overall 6 million people that tuned in at some point to watch that show, either live or on demand. The first show had to be knocked out of the park, and they really stacked it up with main event worthy matches, pay-per-view worthy main event matches. The Bloodline match with Roman Reigns and Solo, main eventing by CM Punk and Seth Rollins, which was the brilliant move on their part. Yeah. Rhea Ripley regains the World Women's title. Shawn, from a promotional standpoint, when you look at the debut episode, and these were the marquee moments of the show, was this the right placement for these matches? Was Punk and Rollins the right main event for this? Because the argument can be made that the first episode did not further the storylines. It was just kind of, this is who we are and this is what we do. With Punk and Rollins, I don't think they're done here. I think,
I hope not.
Right, because it was a good match. But overall, how did you perceive the debut episode of Raw on Netflix?
This episode of Raw on Netflix wasn't meant for us. It was for the new viewers tuning in to WWE for the first time who've had Netflix, and it's just like, this is what we are. I mean, a prime example of that would be The Rock going up and hugging Cody and shaking his hand in the promo that he did. This is us. This is our introduction. Because if you watch what The Rock did the next time on the NXT show, he actually called out the Cody crybabies again.
Right.
So we're back to storylines. I tell you, I like the Netflix presentation. I love the new camera angles. I love the drone shots.
Like the apron?
The apron, I wish, I'm okay with the advertising. I just wish it wasn't flat black. I wish it was the traditional blue. But other than that, I mean, smart marketing. And the best thing about it, I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, no picture-in-picture.
Yeah, so far we've been spared that for sure. Q, we also saw last week, or this past week, the crowning of the new Women's Intercontinental Champion, Lyra Valkyria, and then prior to that, Chelsea Green would become the inaugural Women's United States Champion. When you look at the second episode of Monday Night Raw, we saw the promo with Punk and Rollins, and then Drew McIntyre became involved in this. We saw the crown, this historic crowning of the Women's Intercontinental Champion. Overall, how are you liking the Raw presentation on Netflix? Because, like Shawn was saying, there's different camera angles.
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you, as a promoter, when they went live in the arena, and I saw what the ring, I pay attention to all the little nuances. You know what I mean? Like I always have. But when they went live in the ring, and that ring was black with the white ropes, I'm like, oh, this is a different presentation. Right. This has a more, I almost felt like it was a more of an underground type feel, more raw, more gritty. How did you perceive the overall look of the new Monday Night Raw set?
I actually like it. I like it. It's not too much. I'm okay with the black mat. I'm okay with the white ropes, and my fear was, after seeing SmackDown's presentation with the blue mat and everything, that they're gonna do something crazy like a red mat or something like that. I was scared. So when I seen the curtain drop on that first show and revealed the black mat with the logos and everything, I was like, okay, I can buy into that. I'm okay.
I actually have not paid attention really to the logos at all.
Yeah, they're not distracting. I think the Prime logo was more distracting on
No
the
Prime
PLEs
logo on these ones.
than
Right.
Yeah, that big old giant Prime being in the middle and people face slamming all on it. I don't want to see that. I don't want to care for that. But overall, Monday Night Raw, the look and the drone shots and the camera shots. I mean, they already pretty much started with the whole Lee Fitting presentation when he came over, but they took it to another level, man. And I see that this Raw to me, was my favorite Raw between the two. Because, you had the first Raw was kind of like hi, we're here. But this Raw was like, okay, let's set up for Royal Rumble. Let's set up for Saturday night's main event. Let's get these things moving. And I enjoyed it.
It like I said, it was a different feel. It was a different look. The one thing that I took away immediately was all of the logos on the canvas, because there was a time where, like Vince McMahon, this is another example of this new management in place. McMahon wanted no logos on the canvas. That is a clean slate. That is your canvas to do your art.
Yeah.
He didn't want it marred with all these different logos of sponsors and things of this nature. It hasn't been overly distracting. I think with the Prime thing, that's just for the PLEs. So it's going to be interesting to see if that logo is going to be in Indianapolis on February 1st for the Royal Rumble.
Those logos, I guarantee you, are from TKO, because it's always been a thing for UFC.
Right.
Yeah.
If you look at the UFC apron, that's exactly what theirs looks like.
Yep.
So guarantee you that's actually more of a part of that TKO
influence.
Yeah. Endeavor. Yeah.
They'd be like, why are you wasting this space? Let's make some money.
Exactly. I mean, and that's what TKO is all about, right? With this merger, or not merger, but the collaboration between WWE and UFC. They don't give a crap. They're here to make money. They have all this space. Why not utilize that?
You know what I like, actually, when it comes to the logos being on the mat, I actually prefer that more than those logos they used to platter all over the banner.
Yeah.
Like when they had the
Digital screens.
Yeah, you got that just kind of rolling around. That's very distracting. Like, y'all think about the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match.
Yeah.
What about the Slim Jim Arena?
The Slim Jim, yeah, you got all that stuff just, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Is this a commercial I'm watching? And this feels like picture in picture.
Right. No, you're absolutely right about that. That was much more distraction, much more distracting than what we're seeing printed on the canvas. If you have a question, you have a comment, you have an opinion of what we've talked about so far, we have open lines. You are encouraged to call in and be a part of this conversation. 810-640-5591. That's going to bring us to a piece of controversy that took place on week 1 of Raw is Netflix. The appearance of Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan and the resounding negative response that he received in Los Angeles of all the headlines that came out of week 1 of Raw on its move to Netflix. This was probably the second biggest point of conversation. It has divided wrestling fans across the world. Hogan came out to promote his new beer, which is a prominent sponsor of Monday Night Raw. It's in the corners of said canvas that we've just talked about here. And he was not met with that overwhelmingly positive reception.
Right.
In fact, he was more or less booed out of the building. Still did the promo and everything. But it got the IWC really talking, and people were chiming in. He was booed because of his political affiliation, or it was because they have labeled him as a racist. Q, you watched the show. You saw Hogan's segment on this. What was your takeaway on this, and what is your opinion? What is more fueling this newfound hatred for Hulk Hogan?
I think it's more of a combination thing, well, being the only black guy.
I was our expert on race.
I gotta show up here on this one. For me, I'll speak for me and the black community, I guess, pretty much. People kind of see through Terry Bollea. Now, I separate the Terry Bollea and Hulk Hogan character because I do not like to diminish what people have done throughout the years. This man carried two companies on his back, one as a face and one as a heel, something that has never been done. I mean, this guy is a pioneer. He is a legend of legends, and you just can't take that away from him. But when you see the Terry Bollea side, people are starting to see him as someone who's not genuine.
Right.
That's what I think. That's the problem I think we're seeing here. He had the comments, that he got caught on, and then we hear the apology, and it's more like, I'm sorry I got caught type of thing, and people are seeing through that. And I would say, politics also play a part in it, but, The Undertaker had Donald Trump on his show.
Right.
So I'm like, you can't really just focus in on that, but I think WWE learned a big lesson here. And, I don't want to see Terry Bollea come out there and get booed like that, because it sucks. It sucks. I mean, because I was a Hulk Hogan fan.
Sure.
It sucks. And knowing that, who he is, I just hope that, he sees better of the situations that he is in and he knows how to resolve them a little bit better.
Shawn, Q said something about the separation between Terry Bollea, the man, Hulk Hogan, the performer. You had an immediate reaction to that. What's your takeaway here?
I absolutely agree with Q. I mean, Hulk Hogan, the character, is completely separate entity from Terry Bollea. I mean, we've learned that from Hogan Knows Best, Fact of the matter is when Hogan came out, as soon as I heard those opening chords to Real American, I was pumped up. I was excited. And then I heard the crowd, and I got disappointed. And then I heard his promo. I was no longer excited. I was actually really disappointed. And I knew he was there to promote his beer. But that's Hulk Hogan. Say your prayers. Take your vitamins. Yeah. Don't do drugs. Don't drink. I mean, he preached this to us all through the 80s. And now he's there promoting a beer. Now, I get it. It's his brand. It's his, I'm not going to say it's his company, but it's his brand. But at the same time, the character Hulk Hogan, Donald Trump used the character of Hulk Hogan to help him in his political race. I feel like if it was Terry Bollea, I think it would have been a separate thing. You know what I'm saying? Because Terry's political views and Hulk Hogan's political views could be two different things at this point. But I was actually more disappointed in the fact that Hogan was there to promote beer instead of being Hulk Hogan. I know that sounds really kind of odd, but when he had his Real American Beer shirt on and ripped it off and, Raw is Netflix, that crowd could give. It's fitting that we have Hogan here in the NWO because I was really hoping he would go into heel mode at that point.
And Brian, that's going to bring me to you with this and the backlash that Hogan got. People can argue if it wasn't in Los Angeles and maybe it was in Florida, he would have got a more positive reception. But it was in Los Angeles. Next Saturday, they're going to be in San Antonio. He is scheduled to be at Saturday night's main event. If you're WWE, do you pull the plug on this thing and turn him full-blown heel and actually make this a part of the show? Or do you kind of steer clear of all of this as much as you can while maintaining sponsorship of his brand? But you and I talked at work last night. They're looking for a new public spokesman for his beer. They're looking within WWE. So if you're going to do that route with it, could you turn Hogan back to Hollywood Hogan into an NWO type of heel to make this a part of the show? Would you go that route with it or no?
I think it would be a smart idea. You can't just try to pretend like it didn't happen, because unfortunately momentum will carry. Even if it is completely the opposite. Texas is completely the more opposite state of California than you can get.
Right.
But like at this point, momentum. So as soon as he comes on, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, we're gonna boo him like they booed him, and we'll try to boo louder." But the fact that they already said that they're looking for another sponsor, I don't see it happening. But man, I would love to see a Hollywood Hogan just rip into him.
Yeah.
I mean, wrestlers and beer really haven't been a thing. I mean, look at Austin with the, Broken Skull IPAs. I mean, are those even still around?
They are. They're like mail ordered
Yeah.
because, I mean, they're not available in this part of the country, but, down around the Texas area.
Have you gentlemen tried the Real American Beer yet, just out of curiosity?
No, I have not. No. I don't even know where to find it at, to be honest with you, but I don't go looking for it either.
Oh, I found it. I tried it.
Yeah.
I'm a beer guy.
Right.
I'm not a Real American Beer guy.
No?
No, sir.
Well,
Well, I guess Hogan won't be on this show.
we made mention of Saturday night's main event, and the next episode of that show is going to be a week from tomorrow, January the 25th. Two big matches have been signed. Gunther is going to defend the World Heavyweight Championship against the main event Jey Uso, and Braun Breaker will defend the Intercontinental Championship against Sheamus. Two great matches for this card. It's really shaping up. I like what they're doing with the Saturday night's main event cards, because it feels like these are matches that should be on this particular show. NBC, prime time, Saturday night. We've already said that Hogan's going to be there. Jesse the Body Ventura is going to return to commentary for the main event. Did you say yikes?
Yes.
Please expand.
I mean, we pretty much know the history between, Hogan and Jesse the Body, right? I mean, if Hogan comes out there, and for one, Hogan can barely walk. So to see him come out there, that was another sad part for me.
Yeah.
But if Hogan comes out there and Jesse the Body is on commentary, oh boy, that's going to be a sight to see.
That'd be the perfect time to spin him heel.
That's it. Timing. We just got done talking about that would be the perfect time, because people are digging Jesse the Body Ventura right now. People are not digging on Hulk Hogan. This would be the time to. I mean, I'm not going to say put him in the ring. I would never say that.
Oh God, no.
But man, you put him, mic to mic.
Jesse badmouthing him. Hogan walks over there, pours a Real American Beer over his head, slams the can down. You're solid.
They've already shown Jesse the Body in the 2K25 video game that's coming out. I mean, they are already jumping on the Jesse the Body train.
Well, two, because I'm loving it. Like when he walked out, for the first episode, the reboot, I guess.
Right.
Just, his snakeskin jacket and the boas, and just to hear that voice again, I'm like, man,
got it.
Sent chills, man.
Yeah.
It really
got
did.
Like I said, I did the close my eyes, just took myself right back to the 80s.
It really was, and and a lot of people had an opinion one way or the other about the show. Oh, this is garbage. This is not what I thought it was going to be. Look, and I maintain, and we're going to see it again on next Saturday night with this show. Look, if Saturday night's main event had not ever been taken off the air, and we built it from 1985 to 2025, this is what the show would look like. This is what it would sound like. These are the matches you would have. Because when this thing became a thing in 85, there wasn't a Monday Night Raw. There wasn't a Netflix. There wasn't anything like this. What you get on Saturday nights on NBC is the natural transition from what was to what is here and now. It just is. I'm looking forward to Saturday night's main event, 8 p.m. next weekend. check your local listings.
I'm sure those people aren't bringing out their CRT tube TVs and watching it on that, so they don't really have much room to talk.
Well, right. One more quick article of business that we would like to tackle this week before we go to break here is kind of two polarizing promos or commentary, if you will, between MJF and an in-ring promo that he had with Jeff Jarrett. He really, in some people's mind, went over the line. He used Owen Hart and his relationship with Jarrett as the premise to cut him down, and what I called cheap heat. Brian sent me the video. I looked at it, and I'm just like, man, MJF is one of the best promos in all of professional wrestling. The dude is lights out on the stick. But when it took that turn with it, and he started mentioning Owen Hart, and I'm like, man, you are above this. I looked at this as gross, cheap heat in an effort to further some sort of conflict with Jeff Jarrett, to make Jarrett look like he's more relevant with this new AEW crowd. Q, did you see the promo? What's your takeaway here?
I did see the promo. I didn't really care for it, but I guarantee you that this probably came from Jeff. Jeff wants to be relevant.
Right.
He said, you know what? Mention Owen Hart. I got the blessing of Martha.
Sure.
I can see that being in play because Martha has a relationship with AEW. So, but I don't think it was needed. To be honest, I don't even think Jeff Jarrett is needed. You know, he's the last outlaw type thing. I mean, give me a break. I'm not even buying that. He looks good though.
Yeah, I mean, he does.
Yeah.
You know, for where he's at in life, he does. He looks like $1 million. What was your takeaway on this?
I was never a Jarrett fan to begin with, never will be. It was a way to get cheap heat, and I agree with you. I would bet 100 to 1 that, you know, Jarrett told him to do this. But at the same time, MJF doesn't need to do that. And what was even more absurd to me was, and they put the clips together, they used the bad S word a number of times on that show just to achieve that cheap, ooh, they're zinging each other. And then they go to a backstage promo with Dustin Runnels in the back, and he does the exact same thing, dropping the S word.
It's not special anymore.
No, AEW
Special?
to me is really relying on shock value and I don't want to say like snuff films, but they are really trying to draw their audience in with a grittier, almost nastier type take on professional wrestling. And I've been watching it all, and I gotta say, I'm not a fan anymore.
Have they turned the voltage up since this deal with Max has kicked in? Is this their effort to bring more viewership on this platform now that this deal is in play?
Well, why wouldn't they? Because everyone was speculating that the WWE was going to go to a, you know, more of a PG type rating. They're not doing it. So AEW is going to go ahead and try to jump on that money train. And I just don't think they have the talent nor the roster to be able to do that.
WWE definitely did on NXT when they had The Rock there. He was
Wherever The Rock is.
dropping
That's a
bombs.
Rock thing, though.
He was dropping bombs.
5 F-bombs.
5 F-bombs.
NXT.
Yeah,
I counted
he
them.
was going crazy. Real quick though, while we talk about AEW and Max, that Worlds Collide is no longer a pay-per-view. They're going to stream it on Max. And,
really?
But they also advertise that they're going to do it on TNT, but it's the exact same time that they're already TNT showing the NBA All-Star, those games and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
So I don't.
They're going head to head, huh?
I don't know how they're gonna do that. Like they both advertise that they're in that time spot, exact same time and everything. So I don't know if they're messing up. It's supposed to be TBS.
I was going to say, is one on TNT and one on TBS?
I guarantee you maybe like that, but yeah, it's the Worlds Collide's supposed to be on Max. Streaming.
Weird. Well,
The whole situation with the Max streaming versus AEW and their regular live broadcast, it's weird to me. Because like I go looking for that other show, and it's the same show I just watched on Wednesday. So it's like they completely cut out another show. So,
Well, we do know that they did cancel. What was it, Collision or
Collision.
Yeah. Low viewership. I mean, this is.
I mean, you think
Worlds
about
Collide
it,
is going to
that
be
was
on a
created
tape
for
delay
CM Punk.
anyways because it's like in Australia or somewhere. So
Yeah.
the last show that they
I
had
don't
this
think they're
past
getting huge
Wednesday
ratings there.
housed, 1,500 people was all.
Wow.
That's all they had.
I think the Collision was created for CM Punk. I mean, he's not there anymore.
Right. No, fair. Absolutely. The other thing that came across my radar, and I took I really dialed into this particular one, is Corey Graves, the announcer from WWE, voicing his displeasure of being moved to NXT. But then he wasn't on NXT, and it has really fueled this speculation. Is his grievances a work? Is it real? Is it not? Is it part of a storyline? Brian, you and I spent a little bit of time last night talking about this. I feel like Corey Graves, if this is going to be his path in this business, he could become the part of the next great broadcast team for WWE. It is unfortunate that he got moved to NXT if that was going to be a permanent thing. His grievance here, Q, is he's not as popular as Pat McAfee. That was his one of the things that came across.
Not as famous.
Not as famous. Where is Corey Graves at for you as an announcer? Do you think he's being treated fairly here? And what's your takeaway on what he had put out on social media to voice his unhappiness?
I mean, I get it. I mean, I get why he's frustrated, but looking at it a different way is, I don't see it as too much of a demotion. I mean, NXT is on the CW now. NXT is on the rise, and you're talking about this whole famous thing. I mean, you got Booker T down there
Right.
doing announcing, and also, if it is a work, I would hope to see him in the Royal Rumble because he is cleared to wrestle, and he's been cleared for like a year now.
it was 22.
Over a year, yeah. So, it's a sticky situation right now with him. He is a great. He can do play-by-play and color.
Right.
So he's very talented in those roles. So hopefully it's not nothing too sticky for him and he can bounce back. And also I think it's not even a permanent thing because Pat McAfee is not permanent.
Right. That was my whole thing here. Is like, okay, they moved him to NXT, but it's to keep him on the air while they have Pat McAfee for this block of time before college football becomes a thing again. But why wouldn't they? I gotta think of I gotta remember what platform we're on here. Why would they think that Wade Barrett is a better announcer than Corey Graves for SmackDown? Wouldn't you have moved, if you're going to move anybody, wouldn't you have moved Wade Barrett from SmackDown to NXT and put Corey Graves on USA?
Not necessarily, because with the WWE is who's going to be more obedient and listen to the boss. Corey Graves has made no bones about the fact that he wants to wrestle. What happened with Daniel Bryan when he made no bones about the fact he wanted to wrestle? They made him a commissioner, they did this, they did that with him. He went to AEW. I'm wondering if this isn't a work, if this is Corey Graves' way of getting out of his contract to go to AEW.
It's possible.
That's an interesting take here. You've seen this thing play out here, Brian. Do you think this is this legit in your opinion? Does he have a viable grievance?
I think he should view himself as very lucky when you look at how many positions in professional wrestling there is for a color commentary. That's a very limited field.
Yeah.
And he is lucky enough to be one of those people that has that job. So whether you're on NXT, SmackDown, or Raw, you should view yourself as a very fortunate person. And I think he does a great job. And do I think he would be better than Wade Barrett on SmackDown? Yes. But I don't know how good Wade Barrett would be in a three-way thing with Booker T.
Yeah, Booker.
I don't see that. Like, I think Corey and Booker would be better together.
Yeah.
Be able to feed off of each other in there. And I think that's why they did what they did. And I'm sure they explained that to him. But I have had the thoughts that, is he doing this because all he wants to do is he wants to wrestle.
Right.
And if I can't wrestle, then I'm just ready to throw a big fit.
Yeah. And I think also they like to keep Wade Barrett up on the main roster because they like the way he says Bianca Belair.
I mean, to each his own. Everybody has their own favorite flavor of pudding. Wade Barrett just like there's. There was a number of different analogies that were.
I think you picked the wrong one.
But Wade Barrett, like he appeals to a certain demographic of people. When I hear him talk, like it pains me to listen to his commentary. It just really does. It's not because of the accent or anything like that. It just sounds like it hurts him when he talks. Like he is really struggling to talk. We are going to run a quick timeout, and when we come back, we're going to look at this week's Mount Rushmore and our bold prediction for 2025. All that and more when the Fatal 4-Way returns live right after this.
9,
8.
Are you or someone you know having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance abuse crisis? 988 connects you to compassionate, confidential support for free.
988.
988 is the new 3-digit dialing code for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. For years, the Lifeline, formerly known as the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, has answered tens of millions of calls and helped people overcome mental health-related distress. 988 is the same trusted resource. When you call, text, or chat 988, you'll be quickly connected to trained crisis counselors who will listen to your concerns, provide support, and get you additional help if needed. There is hope. The Lifeline works. You are not alone in crisis. Just call, text, or chat 988.
988.
Knowing how to identify signs of crisis in others and help connect them to resources like the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is an important way to prevent suicide in Lake Orion. For information about free suicide prevention trainings offered in our community, please visit the North Oakland Community Coalition at noccmi.org.
988.
Have you ever thought of producing your own podcast? ONTV offers the facilities, equipment, and training to help you get your own podcast off the ground. Learn how to record your show and get it out to the world. Cost is $25 per person, which gives you access to ONTV's podcast room and equipment. For more information, give ONTV a call at 248-393-1060 or visit orionontv.org today.
And we welcome you back to the Fatal 4-Way live here on ONTV. We certainly appreciate you taking time out of your weekend to give the show a watch. If you have any questions, comments, you want to be a part of the conversation of anything that we've talked about up to this point, our numbers are 810-640-5591. Coming into this segment of the show, we want to make mention of a couple of things here. One, we want to send our condolences to the fans, and the family of Hall of Famer in a couple of different sports. The incomparable Bob Uecker passed away this past week, and whether you're looking at his contributions in professional wrestling with WWE or his career with baseball, Major League Baseball, the man left an indelible impression. Would you agree, Q?
Absolutely. I mean, his voice, and for the wrestling fans, just seeing him on, WrestleMania 3 and 4,
Yep.
I think it was,
Yep.
and just seeing those memorable moments. Yeah, he'll be greatly missed. Thank God that he lived to 90. That was a great age. I mean, but he had a long life, and he had quite the legendary career.
He did. We sat here before we came on the air, Sean, and we were going back and forth of some of our favorite Uecker moments, and a lot of them was, around baseball, the commercials for Miller Lite, the time that he spent with WWE, the backstage interviews, especially the one with Andre the Giant. And Andre put
choke him.
put his arm on him. He's like, "Hey, kick your foot off me." Yeah. Do you have a favorite euchre moment?
The Andre one for sure. Choking him, the look on Euchre's face when Andre's choking him, forever burned in my memory.
Bob Uecker, what a legacy, right?
Absolutely. I told you, when I think of him, I think of Major League.
Yeah.
The movie. It was hilarious. But yeah, like the fact that, like, because you didn't even mention movies and television as well. He reached a lot of people because he was in so many different types of media.
Mr. Baseball.
We forgot about Mr. Belvedere. You know, you mentioned it. I was like, holy crap! I forgot he was even in that show. I'll look kind of along those lines, and we hate to bring the mood down any more than we already have, but the world of independent wrestling, especially here in the state of Michigan, received some very unfortunate news just prior to us coming on to the show here. Shawn Grugel, you lost, one of the good guys, for any time that I have heard about this guy, it was never in a negative manner.
No, condolences and prayers go out to the family of Roughhouse Rob Abrams. Found out maybe a little over an hour ago that he passed away. He was my tag team partner in DSW. We were inducted into the DSW Hall of Fame together back in 2019. We were practically married at one point. I mean, just bloody matches all over the state of Michigan. Rob, I love you. To Rob's family and friends, condolences and prayers to you. And we'll see you in the ring on the other side, brother.
Every time I've been in DSW, I've seen a lot of shoes, not a lot of wrestling.
So it certainly, we wanted to spend a moment here and send our condolences as well. With that, Brian Bolf, let's turn it over to you. Try to pick this thing back up. Let's go to this week's Mount Rushmore.
All right. Sounds like fun. Yesterday's for the dead. Today's for the living. Mount Rushmore. We went with entrance music. Well, this one could easily been split up. We could have went 80s. We could have went Attitude Era. We could divide this up, and I think it would probably have been easier for us if we did, because we all, like, when we talked, we was like, all right, I'm down to 8, but I got to try to chop this to 4 for our Mount Rushmore. So, man, this is my for this very moment, but if you ask me an hour from now, it could change again.
For real.
I went, first off the bat, Hollywood Hogan, Voodoo Child.
Great one.
When you stand me up next to a mountain, as soon as that would hit and they would do the little slide down, man, it brings me back nostalgia as much as anything else. But that's a great song.
Yeah.
Number 2, Bobby Roode, Glorious Domination.
Oh wow,
good one.
I always really enjoyed it, but my boys always loved it. I have a video on my phone of John having it playing on the speaker thing and doing the slow spin.
That's funny.
So, I mean, that hits me in the heartstrings anyways. Next up, I went DX. Are You Ready? Until just recently, I thought that was Rage Against the Machine doing that. I didn't know until just recently. I was like, really? Because I honestly really thought that was Zach De La Rocha doing vocals. It's just a great song. I would listen to that song if it was an entrance music song. And then last, one that I find myself singing to myself all the time, and hopefully not out loud so people hear me, Shawn Michaels' Sexy Boy. that was one of those ones you hear someone say, it is going to dig its way into my brain and be repeated over and over again.
Those are some good ones.
That's good.
Sean, what you got?
Cara Mia by Nikolai Volkov.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry.
Come on, man.
See, mine's pre the wrestling album, because before '84 we didn't have like all these restrictions and licenses on music. So when Hulk Hogan came out to Eye of the Tiger, man, just amazing. Road Warriors, Iron Man by Black Sabbath. Roddy Piper. I don't know the name of it, but when you heard those bagpipes, you knew you were in for a treat.
Yep.
And then this one here, I don't know why he went with Grab Them Cakes, but Junkyard Dog, another one bites the dust when he came out, was, and he
Man,
come
he was
out.
calling it cake back then.
So, yep, those, an honorable mention I just want to put out there, Edge is never going to stop me.
Good one.
That's
Yep.
a good one too. Yeah, Edge had a couple of good ones.
Do
That's
you
my
have
turn.
Do you have an Edgewood on your list?
On this
Well, that's
day,
all, if I
You see
say
clearly?
8 of them. All right. For me, I went with Gangrel the Brood.
good one.
Oh, wow.
That's
Brood
the
Fourth
first
Second.
one.
entrance was amazing.
That's the first one that came to my mind. The second one, I went with the Undertaker, but not his original Graveyard Symphony, but I went with the Ministry of Darkness with the guitar riff. The one with the guitar, not the one where he's in the background going, I was like, oh, he ruined it. But yeah, the one with the guitar riff.
I know exactly which one it is. What is that? Some sort of satanic
what is he
chant?
doing?
What is he doing back there?
I gotta decode this, man.
Turn on subtitles.
But my third one, I went with Macho Man.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
I went with Macho Man. I love that, man. And then my last one is, you know my struggle, man.
I know. We talked about it all week.
I also got to go with Hollywood Hogan, Voodoo Child.
Yeah.
Man, I just can't. I love that song, man. It's dear to my heart. I struggle with this, man.
If I hear that
It's
song
a
now,
tough
That's a
one.
hard one, yeah.
I think of Hollywood Hogan before I think of Jimmy,
Yeah,
which is crazy.
absolutely. I went with 4 that, I mean, as soon as you heard them, it set the tone, it set the mood. You knew who it was, no mistake about it, and the crowd was going to react. Demolition was number 1 on my list. Loved that song. Rick Derringer did an amazing job on their entrance. I will always remember 67,000 people in Toronto erupting as they were carted down the Sky Dome for that match with Andre and Haku at WrestleMania 6. That music set the tone for that match, and he just did not let up. Stone Cold Steve Austin. How could I not put him on? As soon as you heard
Damn, you say.
Listen, when you heard the glass, you knew it was their ass because, I mean, that's just the way that it was. Kurt Angle, another one. As soon as, I mean, the first note, people were up chanting that he sucked, right? And The Undertaker, the original Graveyard Symphony. The gong, and it was over.
No one had Cody Rhodes?
Oh, my God. What is wrong with you? What is in your bottle there?
Real quick, Demolition.
Yeah.
I was watching an interview with them. The first time they heard their ring entrance music, they were on their way to the ring. They heard the opening guitar riffs before they went out, but then when they were walking to the ring is when they actually heard the words for the first time. So.
And the music video, you can go on YouTube and look up Pile Driver music videos, and the Demolition one is far the best one. The explosions and the bombs, and then when they had, you know, the match clips in there and stuff like that, just beating the snot out of people. It was, they more than escaped the Road Warriors shadow, you know, and it did not take long because people who knew of the Road Warriors were like, oh, they're just rip-offs. No. They more than established their own identity, and that's what made them so amazing. They need to go in the Hall of Fame this year.
Yep.
This year. All right, with that, we're going to go around the horn here real quick. We got about 5 more minutes. We're going to give our bold prediction of 2025 moving forward. I know we touched on this late last year, but now that we're in the new year, what is going to be your bold prediction for this year? Q, let's start with you.
Braun Breaker winning Money in the Bank.
Good one. Sean?
My biggest one is going to be Vince McMahon announces a partner venture with Tony Khan to bring about a new wrestling company.
Oh!
Dang, you
Wow! Under the AEW banner or something completely
Something
new?
completely different.
Just go ahead and overshadow mine.
What, man, that could open up a whole different conversation here. That would be huge. Brian, what would be your bold prediction?
I mean, me and Q, our last show, did quite a few. So if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. You know what? I'm just going to go against my fellow host here, Q. I'm going to say Dominic Mysterio wins Money in the Bank.
Bam.
Stay tuned for later on in the year. That May show is going to be huge.
The next time that we are on the air will be the night before the Royal Rumble, January the 31st, 6 p.m., right where you're watching this right now. It will be all about the Royal Rumble. We will be breaking down the card. That's why we haven't spent a tremendous amount of time this week talking about it, because we know a few of the guys that have already pledged to be a part of the 30-man Royal Rumble match. We know it's going to be Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens in a ladder match for the WWE Championship. We're going to be breaking all that down and what we can expect in Indianapolis 2 weeks from tonight. And with that, we certainly appreciate everybody who tuned in here tonight. Stay tuned to our socials for all the latest news and information on this show and all the great shows on the PFC Entertainment Network. For Brian Bolf, for Shawn Grugel, for Quadell Edwards, I'm Jason Clouse. Go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the next episode of the Fatal 4-Way live on ONTV.